thing you probably noticed when watching the trailer is that there seems to be at least one female protagonist in this game. Is that a good thing, considering the way that these characters are portrayed?
That's such a deceptively interesting question, because it's so easy to just go, oh, you just take what you're given and go, oh, look, it's a female protagonist, that's great. um, it's better than just having if they just made it another male protagonist, this would probably be a decent game. But when you make this is making a statement by having a female lead. You're saying you can have a female lead, but we're doing it for us. We're doing it for men to enjoy. This isn't about doing anything for women, giving women any opportunities. It's actually about cutting women down by saying, look, we're going to make this ridiculous sexualized plaything for men to laugh at you with and enjoy. So that's my my gut reaction to it, is that this is just a bit shitty, really, which is a shame because it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking game. It looks like the combat's going to be really good, but this is a real you're making a statement that we don't want women here. We only want women that look the way we want them to and do what we tell them to. So this feels like it's quite an extreme example of that. Whereas someone like Aloy, for example, we've talked about before, she's great. Having a female protagonist in that element, because it's about a strong, interesting, nuanced female character who's strong in her own right. She belongs to herself. You just get to go on her journey with her. So that's excellent. And people go, oh, that's breaking all the boundaries. But we have talked about she is still skinny. She is still pretty. She is still white.
Yeah.
That is completely bog standard, as bland as you can go in terms of oh, we've got a female protagonist, give us loads of brownie points. And I've said make her a dark black skin, because when there are black people cast in almost anything, they tend to be lighter skinned people, because that's seen as
more
close to
acceptable.
whiteness, more beautiful. Make her a dark skinned woman with armpit hair. That would be true groundbreaking opportunity for having a female protagonist. So, but just having a female protagonist, so it turns out that there can be just bad examples that really should just be scrapped and built from the ground up. So yes, it's such a deceptively interesting question.
No, it's definitely making me think. I'm not 100% sure of my own answer, so I'm just going to talk about what's been going through my head. In that, I think the characters in this trailer are incredibly unrealistic in the way that they are portrayed, the way their body shapes are, the way they behave, and obviously the fact that they're... I mean, obviously it's obvious that it's a game, it's not real. The characters are lugging around God knows how many weapons and shooting up robots and things, and of course we know that's not real. But does that still impact on the way we think about the fact that these characters are women, and what that means in the way that they're portrayed? I know I'm rambling, But I was trying to compare it in my head to like, okay, yeah, like I know that Uncharted isn't real, and of course Nathan Drake is unrealistic as a character because no one's going to go around jumping from cliff to cliff and come out alive and carrying around God knows how many guns again and finding treasure and things. Of course, I know that's not real. But do I idolize Nathan Drake? Do I? Potentially, sometimes I may have done when I first started playing the games. I see him as a character in terms of the sense of adventure as something to aspire to. But what does that mean when there's a woman that's overly sexualized? What kinds of things will that inspire in the people playing? Will it inspire desires for particular types of women having particular types of bodies? Like just really unrealistic expectations of women? What sorts of things will this spawn? I guess is the question that's now in my head, and whether that's healthy or not. And in fact, the impact of like gaming characters as a whole, what sorts of impact do they have on players in positive and negative ways, and how much should we be buying into something that at the end of the day isn't real? But again, I have rambled probably far too much, and those are questions for perhaps another episode. So
I
I'm going to
do. I
leave
do agree.
it
It's
there.
that
Yeah,
question of the impact that it'll, because
yeah,
this is just the trailer that's
yeah.
impacted people. So I just it's not it's some things. It's like remember that when the Sonic film,
Mm,
the first
yes,
trailer of that,
yeah.
people roasted Sonic's teeth.
The teeth.
They thought
Yeah,
his teeth were awful. So
yeah.
the studio went, "Oh my god, they're right. We'll
We need
redo that."
to change it. Yeah,
This
and
is
then
a problem of the character of the game developers, their character,
mm,
which is you can't. This isn't an error. Like if you back into someone's, if you're driving and you reverse into someone's car, that's an accident. That's an
mm,
error. But if you drink drive and crash into a listening to a podcast where a guy crashed into an old people's home into a into like a 96-year-old's room,
oh gosh.
and you go, that's a character flaw.
Yeah.
That's something that isn't, you can't call that a mistake
Mm,
because it's your character that enabled that. And so that's why, like, again, you put it perfectly, the context of around around a game's development,
mm,
that's vitally important to understand.
mm, definitely. Um. So, in terms of the characters that we've seen in the trailer, do you think that they have a future in gaming where we see these types of characters in say 5, 10 years time? Difficult one. It's a bit of a theoretical question, really. But,
Again, I think I'll bring it back to my uh, ignorance of the like the extent of women's rights and
mm,
feminism in Korea in this instance. Is this seems like it's they're a couple of decades behind where, say, so this is socially speaking, so like in it feels like a problem we would have had, a game that would have been made 20 years ago, and
mm,
we will go, oh, it was just the
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Um,
They
Whereas
might feel
now,
quite nostalgic about it, perhaps. I don't know.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's tricky, but it makes me think of why I'm optimistic about the world in taking, as I always like to bring it back to capitalism. Disney, one of the biggest companies in the world, they're making black Little Mermaids, people of color everywhere, gay people, lesbians. They'll be having trans people soon, I hope. Um, Netflix, just fucking an orgy of just the most ridiculous amount of sex scenes of a
Hmm.
million different minds,
Mm-hmm.
which means that these massive, the biggest companies in the world, believe that the future is diverse
Diverse.
and tolerant,
Mm.
and so that's good. But in smaller countries like Korea, that is not true, because a lot of the companies that were just doing that logo,
Mm.
they changed it all, and the government the government are supposed to be the referees of social arguments, but the government just aren't aren't doing aren't refereeing
No.
properly.
I wonder if it's also true in bigger countries like Russia, and it just depends on the type of system and society that women are living in, I guess. Not to limit it to geographic size of the country, but yeah, no,
It
it's
made me
interesting.
it made me think it's kind of, you say nostalgia. The
Mm.
word I thought of was retro. It's
Ah,
like it's
yes.
like it's like retro racism. You think
Mm.
right now I'm in love with American football now, and
Okay.
it's like 80% of the players are black
Yeah.
or mixed race, because they're the best athletes that they can find.
Yeah.
And it's the same with basketball. Two of the most profoundly popular sports on the planet, and the NBA in particular is like on fire in China. So there's
Mm.
just hundreds of millions of people watching these things,
Yeah.
and there will still be people who like don't think that black people and white people should go to the same school.
Mm.
And you
Yeah.
think, dude, we're in the
Yeah.
we're in 2020s now. We've got races high. We're in advanced racism level. We've gone, okay, mixed race is fine, integration is fine. Now people are saying, oh, the just more sophisticated levels. That's it.
Mm.
Sophisticated levels. This is unsophisticated. So you just go, come on, we've hashed this out. At least come and be arguing about having, oh, but we've got a female protagonist. She's white and
Mm.
she's skinny. That's the kind of problem that we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and now we're being dragged back. Imagine if imagine if
Yeah.
Aloy, if this was Aloy, we'd be
Mm.
having the same conversation, but we're
Yeah.
not, because it feels like we have sophisticated. Hopefully, this is more
Hope.
advanced permanently. Or
Mm.
if you see in the future, maybe it'll go backwards and we'll see more of this.
Yeah.
But
I
I
hope not. Yeah, I hope, because it's so unrealistic that it's laughable, and that's why I was like, is it serious? I don't know if it's serious because I literally couldn't take it seriously. It was so bad. But yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned that because I was thinking about Lara Croft, obviously one of the most well-known female protagonists, and how she obviously started out with certain proportions, and over the years, in the latest games, they've scaled back those proportions so that Lara's body is a little bit more realistic and natural. Um, very much still white and skinny, but a lot less unrealistic. Which again is hopefully a sign of progression and realization that these things probably aren't okay. Um, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether we continue on that curve of diversity and sort of more realistic portrayals of characters within games, or if we take a complete U-turn and go completely unrealistic and goodness knows what. But yeah, it'd be
it
interesting.
completely. Uh, I'd forgotten the. It is literally like Lara Croft.
Mm,
The This is the Lara Croft that the 15-year-old. I
totally. Yeah,
always feel a visceral sense of satisfaction when I think, oh yeah, it's like a 15-year-old boy made this.
yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
I'm right. I'm right. yeah, so as technology got sophisticated, it's if they made a Lara Croft look like that in now,
Yeah,
I don't think it would
I don't think it would go down well.
go down well. It wouldn't
No,
wouldn't be that would just that it would be bad. Not just it's shit creativity.
yeah, yeah,
It's so
it's the
yeah
only thing.
that level of talk about none of it's real. Nothing in gaming is
No,
real,
no,
but you can relate to it,
yeah,
and you can have interesting characters of any kind. But when you just do this, that's
you
why
can't.
Aloy's a little. Well, Aloy isn't disappointing. The developers of Aloy are a little disappointing because they have it's you've played the Horizon Zero Dawn, haven't you?
Yeah, but not the sequel,
You
no.
haven't played the sequel. The Horizon Zero Dawn is like the I think I said this before. It's like the prologue chapter
Yeah,
of War and Peace, and the Forbidden West is just it's absolute technical masterpiece of just pushing. The only thing that will beat it is God of War Ragnarok. I have no doubt of that. It's an absolute technical, just something like they went into the future and brought back technology. But the design of Aloy is from 10 years ago,
yeah,
15 years ago, perhaps, 10
yeah,
years ago, where it went from the ridiculous body, boobs,
yeah,
everything, to the slim, white, pretty
yeah,
girl instead
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Lara Croft. That's really
yeah.
interesting. The way that the body shape has gone from one shape
Mm,
to another shape.
indeed. I mean, probably we've talked about it before, but The Last of Us 2 has gone even further than that and gone into an even more realistic direction. Like, what would a woman look like with muscles? Let's see what that looks like. Again, both white still, but better than an incredibly athletic, somehow still skinny woman. But yeah, no, it's what you
They
said
just
about
go. They just go.
yeah,
They're so close. They're
very
so
close.
close. Oh, unfortunately, the
Although Nadine was quite muscly in Uncharted, Lost Legacy, reasonably. I mean, in Uncharted
yes,
4 as well, because she basically kicked Nathan's butt. But yeah,
she's also played by the same actress who plays Abby in The Last of Us.
yes.
There's a white
Weirdly
woman
enough,
playing a
there's a
black
link.
man.
There's a link for you, unbeknownst to me. But
They're both made by the same company.
they are Naughty Dog.
Uh,
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
completely. I missed
See,
that.
we've been out of the game so long. We have to get back into the swing of it. This is the thing. It was interesting. Something struck me when you said about how you can play a character that's completely unrealistic, and how much more you can invest in a character that you can relate to, and invest in a game that you can relate to. When you play a character like the ones in Still the Blade, it's so unrealistic that it's um, I lost my time, but basically, it's not going to
You
mean as
can't
much
connect
to
to
you.
it.
No, exactly. You can't connect to it in the same way you connect to a character whose story was perhaps similar to your own and or looked a little bit like you, or struggles with the same things as you, say, in the story game. For this game, it's just going to be quick, breezy, action, sexy playthrough, and that's what you're playing it for, is all the sex and the violence, and that's it. It's like a crappy movie, basically. That you watch for a good time, but it's not like one that you'll come back to again and again, unless you like crappy action movies, in which case, all power to you, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of emotional investment and meaningfulness, this game is probably not one of them, judging by the trailer.
One thing that I sort of breezed past on, only really taking into account now. This is PlayStation exclusive that Sony itself has taken under its wing. So this isn't an independent game studio. Sony looked at this and went, yes, this is what we want.
That's a good point.
Which is
not great.
Not so good. Another thing, I'm just going to take some more shots at The Last of Us Part 2, because The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the most extraordinary games I've ever played. Definitely in my top 5 of games I've ever played. It changed me. I was a different person as a result of going through that experience. And the central part of that is the cycle of violence between. So you've got one camp called the Wolves and another camp called the Scars, and they are in this perpetual conflict where they torture each other, they mutilate each other, they hang each other. Just this cycle of brutality. And that felt so real and powerful. But then the developer said that he seems to think that every every conflict is based on each side having an unresolved trauma, and that the conflict persists because neither of them address their trauma. And so it's just this cycle. And that sounds really good. Sounds right. But he uses the example of a real life example of Israel and Palestine, and saying that they're just two sides with trauma, that they're just enacting on each other. It's completely neutral. But then you have to look at Israel has all of the power. It has the backing of America, Britain. The wealthiest countries back Israel. America gives hundreds of millions of dollars worth of arms to Israel, and this guy thinks they're just two neutral sides trapped in a cycle, when he ignores. Another example would be the British Empire, which is a really good time for us to be talking about like monarchies and hereditary privilege at the moment. It's like saying, oh, the IRA and the British Army fighting each other. Oh, they're just two sides that hate each other. Britain was trying to own Ireland. If you've got one side that is trying to colonize another side, colonization isn't a result of trauma. It's a result of taking other people's shit.
Yeah.
And so that's another area that he completely misses the point of it. And the fact that he's using Israel and Palestine, that is an incredibly
misguided
hot button topic to talk about, because whenever you mention it, you'll see really, really quickly that people become very polarized on it. And just from everything that I've seen and everything I understand, Israel is just, they're like an occupier of Palestine, and it's one of those things that makes you feel like, am I insane that that's what I can see and hear with my own eyes? Because I think that's, especially if you're bringing it back to feminism, that's what a lot of women feel, just like we're hearing and seeing and living our experiences. And then people tell us that, it's just
not happening.
It's just an arse.
That's not.
You don't believe your eyes and ears.
No.
And so that's another area where they try and send you mad.
Yeah.
Which is why I need to not go so far down rabbit holes like this.
No. we'll try and make sure we don't do that for the next episode. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people telling people to calm down about the fact that these characters are so unrealistic and horribly portrayed, and that it's no big deal when actually it's probably not something that we should be celebrating in any way. Which I think brings us towards the end of the episode quite neatly. I don't think did I have any more questions? No, I don't think I have any more questions. So unless you had any extra bits you wanted to mention, Matt, we can draw tonight's episode to a close.
I think I've managed to
You covered a lot.
exorcise all the shit that I've
all the stuff
absorbed
you've
over the
built
last few
up.
hours.
Yeah. No,
Lovely.
it's been really insightful and a really interesting chat for sure. We definitely explored things that I didn't think we were going to explore, which is the beauty of a podcast like this. We
And
get to talk about things.
this would never have crossed my vision.
No.
I would never have
No,
gone with.
immediately I saw it, I said we must discuss it here on Gaming the System. So I'm really glad we could have a chat, and we'd be really interested to know everyone else's thoughts. If you have any, you can comment on our YouTube video, or just basically let us know on social media. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you can give us 5-star ratings if you've enjoyed listening or watching, please. And please do let us know if you have any thoughts about the Stellar Blade trailer, about the portrayal of women in games generally, anything you might want us to know about, just let us know, and we'd love to hear from you. I'm not sure when this episode's going out, but usually we do something on Thursdays. Is that right, Matt? It's been a little while, so we're a bit rusty, but soon there will be new content coming to your eyes and ears from Gaming the System, and we're super excited to be back, and we've got lots in the works coming your way as well. So we look forward to that. Is there anything else I've forgotten to mention about
The only thing,
liking and subscribing? Yes, please like and subscribe also. Yes.
I'll just sign off by saying Stellar Blade is an awesome title.
It's an interesting title. Project Eve is also an interesting title, which has connotations, so perhaps that's why they changed it. Who knows? If anyone knows the reason, let us know, because we'd love to know. All right, well, I think that is an hour, basically. So I'm going to say goodbye, and you're going to say goodbye, Matt, and we'll see you all again soon. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.